Alright, loads of us know how amazing and how epic motorcycles such as the Kawasaki ZZR1400 are, and just super heavyweights in general. But you don't see too many riders actually talking about their real life benefits and how they can help you as a rider. Let's jump right in. It's a nice evening. Tell you what, we've had a pretty good October. It did start off pretty cold, but now it's actually pretty warm. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the warmest Octobers on record. Yeah, pretty good. Alright guys, I'm going to get myself lost in today's video, I think. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, real life benefits to super heavyweight motorcycles. I mean, you could argue that motorcycles like these are just not necessary for street use and la-di-da-di-da. And I think I even gave a very similar sentiment in a video in the past where, yeah, I mean, horsepower and torque-wise, yeah, I mean, it's pretty mad. But I wouldn't say that it's too much or unnecessary. There are other benefits to riding a platform like this, and I mean, I'm going to be talking mainly about the ZZR, of course, but I have no doubt that these same benefits are going to apply to many super heavyweight bikes, and this includes cruisers, tourers. This is, I think a lot of these benefits are going to apply on a wide spectrum of motorcycles. But for me, the biggest one is the presence you have on the road. It's the classic thing, isn't it? Where people just don't see bikers. They don't see the motorcycle. They don't see the riders. Well, if you're riding something that is physically bigger on the road, then it should be easier to see, you'd have thought, in theory. And I think it does. From the way how I ride and the position I put myself on the road. Oh wow. Speedy skeeps. I thought that was going to be a tight one there, but luckily there's a little opening there on the side of the road. Yeah, so the position that I put myself on the road, people do see me, and I think that is one of the things that you have to learn as a motorcyclist pretty quickly is road positioning, road awareness, making sure that you are as visible as possible. But having a physically larger bike does help in that regard. And of course, speaking of being more visible, the light setup on the ZZR is wicked. I mean, it's just the fact that you can see all 4 lights. I mean, you have 6 lights in total. You've got 2 parking lights, you've got 2 dip beam lights, and you've got 2 full beam lights. So that's 6 lights in total. The parking lights and the dip beam lights are on all the time. You can't turn those off. But it's just the sheer amount of light that you can get out of this motorcycle. And that's the thing, if I'm riding on roads like these and I can't see an awful lot, you know, because they're not well lit, then I have no issues with this bike. And I have ridden motorcycles in the past where light is an issue, where you're having to really try and see where you're going, you know. On the ZZR here, it's like spotlights. It's almost as good as car lights, you know. It's really, they're really effective. And I know that some riders, some owners of the ZZR also like to swap the bulbs out as well for white light bulbs and what have you. These are the ones that are stock at the moment on my ZZR here, they're stock. But yeah, I have seen riders doing that before. So you can get even more visibility. But remember, again, it helps with your visibility, but it also helps with other drivers' visibility to you. Yeah, helps them see you better. Whew. That's a nice little area there. I might have to shoot a video there at some point, shoot an intro. Nice little quiet open space. So, I mean, just in terms of being visible, I think is a real world benefit to riding a motorcycle. That's the worst thing in the world, is when you're hit by another driver and they say they didn't see you, you know? Whereas if you're riding a motorcycle like this that sounds the way it does, then it's going to be harder for drivers to come up with that excuse, you know? And yeah, they come up with that excuse an awful lot, unfortunately. Fortunately for us bikers, but it still helps nonetheless. Being physically larger on the road, having more of a presence on the road, makes you safer, makes you more visible, and also it makes you more dominant on the road. So if you get yourself in, say, lane 3, for example, you stay in there pretty much. You're not going to get drivers doing anything that's too stupid. Well, you know what I mean. I mean, drivers can be stupid anyway, but gives them less opportunity to be stupid. So apart from that, guys, talk. Talk. I mean, there are a lot of motorcycles that produce a good enough amount of horsepower that if you need to get out of a sticky situation, if you need to be able to overtake quickly, there are loads and loads of bikes that can do that, you know? They can get you into the right position that you want to be, that you need to be for your own safety. They can put you there really, really quickly. And it's no different with this bike right here. Overtaking with the ZZR is piss easy. And, you know, it just makes the task a hell of a lot easier and a hell of a lot safer. The last thing that you want is trying to overtake and you haven't got enough power to make the overtake in a short space, but a space that you know you should be able to overtake someone in, you know? Sorry guys, I keep saying you know a lot. I think it's because I'm concentrated right now on this road, because I've not been on this road before, and it's a lot more narrow than I thought it would be. So I might have to turn around and go another way, but I'm hoping I'll find a main road soon. But yeah, I thought it would be interesting just popping down here. This is where I just end up in London or something. Just pop out at... Oh, blimey. The road quality isn't very good here either. Yeah, just pop out in Hogwarts or something. God, blimey. I don't know if I want to go down these roads, you know? Oh, there, it says it again. Right, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go back the way I came, because I'm not convinced that this is a public road anymore. I've just ridden onto someone's farm. Alright. Well, you know, that's kind of what happens when you're out exploring new routes. Sometimes you end up coming down roads like these and it's just a bust. Hey, you live and you learn. I know not to come down here next time. Oh, I'm looking forward to getting back to civilization now. Getting off these medieval roads. For me, I think this has been the biggest realization, is just how normal these bikes are to ride. They're not anything abnormal, they're not anything that is crazy or too mad, too brutal, too this, too that. It isn't. For me, these kinds of motorcycles are actually very well balanced, very well engineered, very reliable. God, I didn't think he was gonna stop then, coming out of that junction. What was I saying? Yeah, very reliable, very robust, very good motorcycle platforms. I mean, just the added benefit of the sound coming through the pipes as well certainly makes it just that little bit more worthwhile for me. Because again, it all helps with your visibility. They're not crazy loud. I've heard a lot louder. These are the loudest pipes that I've ever had on a motorcycle, but they're not, what's the word, over the top. They are fairly, well, they can be fairly quiet at low RPMs. So I think it's a good balance between a nice sound that the rider can appreciate, but also makes you more visible to drivers on the road. Oh man, this road didn't feel this long. It's blooming massive. I'll tell you what, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling a little bit of wind today. And that's another thing that these super heavyweights really do well. And it's just being impacted by the wind. You're not impacted by the wind at all. I mean, I suppose it depends on the intensity of the weather, but I've been in some pretty high winds on this bike, and I'm telling you, it is planted. It really is planted. Whereas in the past, when I've ridden my CBR 600RR, when I've ridden the wife's Ninja 125, it really does get affected by the wind massively, and it's quite scary because there's nothing you can do. You know, what are you going to do? I suppose you can stop somewhere and try and take cover until the wind dies down, but I mean, it's just rubbish when you get caught out in weather like that. And you want to be able to keep going, you want to be able to make it home, but it's getting to a point where it might be too dangerous. It'll knock you over or something. You really don't have that problem on a super heavyweight. At least I've not experienced it. Weather here in the UK isn't exactly that extreme, so for UK weather and high winds, it's not too bad. But let me know in the comments if you live, I don't know, in one of the tornado counties in the United States, or somewhere that gets a lot of hurricanes, and whether or not if you've been caught out in a hurricane on a super heavyweight. You know, anything 1100cc plus, if you've been caught out in really, really harsh winds on a motorcycle above 1100cc, let me know what you thought of it, and let me know what bike you are riding. I mean, that's the thing, I suppose that's another thing to address, is that displacement doesn't always mean physically bigger. So the engine might be bigger in terms of its capacity in the cylinders, but you'd be surprised at what size of an engine you can fit on a really small frame. So I imagine that Suzuki and Kawasaki could have made these bikes smaller if they really wanted to, with the same engine, same build and everything like that. I imagine they could have made them ever so slightly smaller, but yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, well, think about it this way, between a 1000 and a 600, the physical size of the machines is negligible. They're pretty much exactly the same in terms of physical size and in terms of weight as well. The 1000 might be slightly heavier than a 600, but it's not by much. So yeah, engine size doesn't mean a bigger bike physically. I think a lot of people get confused by that, but it is a general rule of thumb, but it's not always the case, especially when it comes to sport bikes. That's the thing, if I'm caught in extreme weather, if I'm caught in loads of traffic, busy traffic, gridlock traffic, I'd prefer to be on the ZZR than I would be on my ZH2 or on a smaller bike. I'd prefer to be on this. I'd feel more comfortable on this than on almost anything else, except for maybe a Hayabusa. But again, very, very similar bikes in that regard, very similar. Well, I suppose one last thing to take away from this video, guys, is they're not too bad on fuel either. Even though I would have liked a little bit more fuel economy from this bike, I wouldn't sacrifice any of the performance to get a few extra mpg, you know. I don't think it's worth it. I love the way how this motorcycle feels to ride, and that's the thing, if you are doing really long journeys, motorway journeys, things like that, then it wouldn't surprise me if you'd be able to get 200 miles out of a single tank, maybe more than that. But for the type of riding I do, I usually get around about 160, 170, something like that. And for me, I mean, it's absolutely fine. for what I need it for, especially compared to the ZH2 anyway. Yeah, this bike is hella fuel efficient compared to the ZH2. Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, generally that's usually the case, especially when you look at the big Tourers. They have some really good fuel economy. You know, getting 60 plus mpg out of one of those things, I believe, from memory. So they're pretty versatile bikes, guys. The super heavyweights, yeah. You don't see too many of them on the road, but we should. We really should. Anyway, guys and gals, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this ride out today, and I hope that if you've taken anything away from this video is that these are normal motorcycles and they do give you pretty compelling reasons to buy them for street use. And I hope if you are in the market for a motorcycle and you're looking at something bigger, something like a 1000 or what have you, then definitely consider the super heavyweights. Alright guys and gals, yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. If you want to see more content on the ZZR1400, click here. If you want to see some other stuff, click here. Hit like, get subscribed, and we'll catch you all in the next video. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all riding safe. We'll see you in the next one.